Welcome, guys, gals, non-binary pals. I'm Ali Doll. This is my channel, and today, since we're in November, we're almost done with 2021. Thank God. We're gonna start doing countdown lists for this year, and we're gonna start with the top 5 best card games of 2021. Let's do it. All right, guys. So as y'all know, I love tabletop games. I love card games, and I have followed a lot of games throughout the year. I normally do. I like to know what's going on in different games, just in case there's a strategy or something out there that I would love to play. With COVID, card games have been really hard to keep going, seeing as how we weren't meeting in person for a big part of the year, and now we're doing it with mask, and not everyone wants to do it with mask, and blah 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 blah. But there has been some online stuff going on with a lot of card games. There's been in-person return to a couple of them, some big tournaments for a couple of them, and a couple of new games had a very successful year. Honestly, some old games had really good years too. Some old games are dropping. So my criteria for this list is mostly my opinion. And that's just my opinion from how I perceive things from other YouTubers of this genre, or and then how I heard fans talk about set releases and stuff like that. And so that's kind of the criteria I'm going for. You're not going to agree with this list probably, and if you don't, go ahead and let me know. But be respectful. Don't be mean. Also, if you do agree with this list, let me know. I want to know the games that we're all playing in 2021 to get through this nightmare that has been COVID. All right, let's go. All right, guys, we're going to start this list the same way I start every list, with number 5. And number 5 comes from a game that came out, 2002. It's been pretty successful. It's usually considered the number 3 or 2 game in the world. But in my opinion, number 5 is going to be Yu-Gi-Oh, which is a lot lower on the list than people probably would expect. Such a developed game with such a big fandom. But honest to God, every time I watch their YouTubers and stuff, I feel like the game just isn't as fun as it was. I feel like I know there was a super disappointing ban list recently that people were upset about. I feel like their March set, that's usually like their spring set, that's a special set that usually hypes people up. I feel like this year it wasn't that good. I imagine its sales weren't as good. The decks this year, I mean, it just Yu-Gi-Oh feels super stale, and every time it feels stale, they overcomplicate it even more to make it less stale. But as I said, I get the feeling that Yu-Gi-Oh is at a very stale point. I wish they'd just make different formats official to play in, and that would really boost that game up a lot. All right, guys, now it's time to talk about number 4, which is going to be Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood, it came out a couple of years ago, right before the pandemic. If you haven't heard of it, the whole creed is they're not going to do an online platform. It's called Flesh and Blood because it's meant to be played in the Flesh and Blood, which I love because I don't really like online gaming when it comes to cards. Anyways, it's just a personal opinion. And so I like that. It's a hero game where you have a hero and you get like equipment and armor and you have a deck. And I've looked into it a little bit. It's a game that I plan on playing more into 2022. So I haven't actually personally picked up a game of it this year, but I do follow it and I follow its meta quite a bit. And the game's had a successful year. It had the Calling, which is like their Grand Prix, if you're familiar with Magic terms. So they had a couple of those. One was in Dallas, and Oklahoma City was on fire that month with people getting ready to go play. It looked like a lot of fun. That's what made me want to play it. Was I was like, I want to be with those guys trying to compete. Along with that, they had Vegas. They had a Calling Vegas where they had Professor, who's a very well-known Magic YouTuber who went to it and showed support for it. And as I said, everything I hear is very positive about this game, and it seems like it's going places. As I said, I'll probably be buying into it hopefully very soon. And so number 4, Flesh and Blood. All right, guys. So let's do number 3. Number 3 is the OG card game, Magic the Gathering. And I know that feels weird to put him at number 3 because it's my personal favorite game. It's the only game I've deck teched on my channel up to this point, though I do have plans on doing some others. But I've been really. I actually quit playing Magic for a few months. Not like I walked away and sold cards or anything, but like I stepped away and invested in some other things because I was just so oversaturated with Magic the Gathering. They drop so much, so often, and increase their prices by so much that it just feels like an impossible game to keep up with. With that being said, I've built some decks this year. I've had a lot of fun with the EDH I've been playing. It sounds like Arena is being successful, but seeing as how Wizards seems to have completely dismantled the professional scene of Magic, it really feels like Commander is the only way to play anymore, which is disappointing. The power creep of Modern Horizons 2 was just absurd. But it was nice because we have fetches cheap. The game, it's Magic. It's a good game. It's, in my opinion, the best game out there to play. But Wizards just needs to fix it. They need to stop oversaturating the market. They need to stop with the price increases. And really, they need to bring the pro scene back so we can try to, compete again. Because right now, there doesn't seem to be a reason to compete and play the game. All right, guys. So that was number three. So let's do number two. Number two is actually my personal favorite game of the year. If this list was all opinion based and not with any other knowledge of any other games, it would have been my number one. But it is my number two, and it's Digimon. Digimon was a game over in Japan. They got a lot of hype and a lot of excitement. They started redoing the animes, and it really boosted it. And so America just kind of waited for it. And about this time last year, we got the announcement that we were finally getting it in January. Unfortunately, due to scalpers and stuff, and just COVID in general, and in the world in general right now, and the shipping delays, it's been a hard game to play. The first set, the starter decks, I still haven't been able to pick up any except for like one lucky one. Um, it's dropped a couple of sets. They seem to be more accessible now. The last set, Battle of Omnimon, was amazing, and I had so much fun playing that season. It's actually whenever I left Magic, Digimon is what I invested in. Unfortunately, the shipping delays and stuff that's happened in America has made me kind of lose hope, not hope, but lose interest a lot. I'm building EDH decks instead of working on Digimon decks, it definitely has fallen in favor with the delays. But I imagine it will be a game I get hop in and out of a lot over the next couple of years of my life. I hope it can keep going as strong as it's gone this year. But yeah, Digimon number two. All right, guys, and my number one is going to have to be Pokemon. There's no way around it. There is no way that you could make a list, whether it based on any kind of fact or anything, that Pokemon was not number one. You can't find the cards in the store. My day job is a very well known convenience store, or not convenience store, but department store or whatever. And we stock them, and I've seen them get stocked, and I've seen a line of people come and watch the guy stock them until he was done, and then come and take all of them immediately. Which I do not approve of, and I do not agree. The scalping in that game has been ridiculous, and to all the people who actively play it, that sucks for y'all, and I'm so sorry, because that sucks. But it was a successful game. Its sets have not been on our shelves at all this year. And my son is actually playing it, my oldest son, and he wants to play with me. And I told him I'd build a deck, but because of the shortage of cards and because they are just so hard to get unless you want to pay scalping prices, I can't build a deck. So I haven't been able to really play this year. The sets look fun. I cannot wait to learn some of the new mechanics and stuff that came out with the Sword and Shield expansion in the games. I know that they change a lot every time an expansion comes out, so I can't wait to see where they go. I hope they fix the supply demand for Pokemon. I hope they find a way to get the cards out there and enough product where scalpers are wasting their time and everyone can have it. Because it's really cool to see my childhood game, the game that got me into this genre of gaming. It's really cool to see it so big again because I never thought I'd see it again. But this is the level it was whenever I was a child, so that's cool. So yeah, number one, Pokemon. But yeah, so what y'all think of 2021? What y'all think of card games? I know, we had Dragon Ball Super that was doing pretty well, but I've heard a lot of people being upset over reprint stuff. We had Vanguard, which seemed pretty good. Final Fantasy is always a card game I would love to play. Force of Will, I've been paying attention to some of their recent previews, and they seem like they're going still, and so that's kind of cool. But there's tons of card games. I recommend, if you love tabletop games, look into them all. Don't just look into the big three: Pokemon, Magic, and Yu-Gi-Oh. Because there's definitely a lot of good games out there that are just good that aren't being the main ones. So just because it's not in my list or in another list doesn't mean it's not a good game that you shouldn't play it. We should always be playing more games. But anyways, that's my video. I'm Ali Doll. This is my channel. Thank y'all so much for coming and checking me out. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell, so I can get some notifications. All those things we've come to learn to do over the last 10 years to keep us in content with our content creators. And be nice to yourselves, be nice to others. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. Be nice in my comments, and we'll see you next time.